What is happening, everybody? TRUEEEVIL here, and today we got a new update to Etheria Restart. A lot of characters got buffed, and a lot of people were asking me questions on how to do AI Arena, especially with Holden. Holden just got a massive buff and has really changed how the second turns do defense in AI Arena. So I did a couple of runs, got to rank 3, and I just want to give my thought process out. If you're struggling on those Tiamat Holden teams, especially if you're a Bruiser player, how do you go about beating another Bruiser team? And I'm going to talk about that. Now, before we get to the gameplay footage, let's talk about what the difference between these second turn teams are going to be, which previously it was Tiamat, Viper, Sonya, and Ling Luo. Now they're going to substitute one of those healers for Moonlit Veil because Moonlit Veil is extremely powerful and the AI actually knows how to use it instead of Ling Luo, where the AI just doesn't know how to use Ling Luo at all. And then for Viper, a lot of people are opting for Holden, and that is because Holden got a significant buff for some unknown reason, and now he hits like an absolute monster. So how do you go as a Bruiser player? How do you climb up to that rank 1? And the answer is going to be for attacks. Well, it's going to be Makoto. But unfortunately, I don't have Makoto built because, well, I just don't have any resources. So what do you do? TRUEEVIL, how do you get that 100% win rate against Tiamat? And it's always going to be Rahu. And a lot of people are going to have 4 bloodbaths on their AI arena team for defense. And how I like to use my Rahu, because he's a really good anti-bruiser if you don't have Makoto, it's going to be, just straight up unbreakable Bramble Colossus Guard. Get as much defense as you can and make him hit like an absolute monster. Because if you're stalling and they're stalling too, well, eventually your damage is going to get through and you're going to go absolutely poggers on them. So definitely would recommend not using Bloodbath on your Rahu when dealing with these businesses. And we're going to be using Doki Doki. Doki Doki is a really good character to use because of her skills, like the skill 3, which just gives a bunch of these dispellable stacks. Now this is really important because everyone is using like Holden or Viper in some way to just dispel, so it's imperative to have a way to have undispellable buffs, and that's why the Moonlit Veil is so strong, because Moonlit Veil can also not be dispelled. So this is what I think is the best way, and there's so many people doing Tiamat right now that it's just going to work. And the reason I'm saying go for the Tiamat, because I don't want to touch a Heinrich, Messiah, Obel, Lily team with a 10-foot pole, because I know it's going to be super fast, and I know it's going to just wreck my world. So why would I attack that? So, I'm not going to attack those Giga Chads that are playing with those absolute awesome characters, which, I don't have a Heinrich, so I can't do that. So we have to opt to have a Bruiser account. So let's show you how to Bruiser. So I'm not going to talk through the whole commentary. I'm going to just tell you how to go about this battle because it's going to take an awfully long time. I will play the entire video out, and I'm not going to show people's names because I don't like doing that. But at the time of when I was doing the rank up, this person was the second highest rated Tiamat player, and this is going to be probably the standard team that is developing right now, where it's got the Moonlit Veil, it has a healer, either Ling Luo or Sonya, and Tiamat and Holden as the actual damage. So how you go about this is everyone goes gangbusters on the Ling Luo. If they don't have Ling Luo, then you do it on the Sonya. You go for the healer first, ask questions later. And what's going to happen is, well, they're not going to be able to do damage to you because they're all on Bloodbath, and they just aren't going to do a whole lot. So what's going to happen is our healers are going to heal everything back. Their healers are going to heal everything back. And we're just peeling the PvP effect until the healing is very bare minimum and we can do a whole lot of damage. And then once that happens, we're going to be able to two-shot the healer, and then you go for the other healer or support, and then Tiamat will actually most likely be able to get KO'd off of her passive effect, where she takes like 25% of extra damage, 20%, depends how much they're latticed. But because of how hard Rahu is going to be able to hit, Rahu is going to be able to take both of them down, and this is going to get around Bramble. A lot of the times people go gangbusters on the Tia, and then they get wrecked by the Bramble. So what we're trying to do is get around the Bramble, and then once all of them are dealt with, we go for the Holden last. Now, it will be a little bit different if they don't use Holden and they have Viper. In that case, you go for the like Ling Luo Sonya healer first, then you go for the Viper, then you go for the secondary, then you go for Tiamat last. The only time you would hit Tiamat before last is, well, Holden, because you do Holden last, or if they're in one-shot territory and they don't have an Amber Shell. I think that's the only other time, but most of the time you're doing this, you're going to be like, you're going to be eating breakfast, checking work emails, talking with the boys on Discord. You're not actually going to pay attention because this takes kind of a long time. Everyone's going to be attacking Ling Luo, and because of the heals, nothing's going to really happen. So we just have to wait. So sit back and relax and watch the whole thing if you'd like. I would say just skip through it, and then I'm going to show the next type after this with the Viper team, because one of the other top players isn't using the Holden, he's using Viper. So it's nice to see the different ways to go about this. Now, I'm going to show one more of these Tiamat fights because this person was the #1 player for a little bit today, and this person probably has the strongest Tiamat team. I'm not going to name any names, but really, really powerful team. So what you're going to be seeing here is a little bit different than we did with the last one, which I'm going to assume is going to be the standard. With this team, there's a Viper instead of a Holden. So the way you change it around is instead of going for Viper last like you did Holden, what you're going to do is go for Ling Luo, and then you're going to go for the Viper. And then because the shell isn't a amber shell, it's a lighthouse, it's not going to trigger due to the passive as long as you don't attack the Tiamat. And what you do is wait for Tiamat to be in one shot, and then boom goes the dynamite. And so the order is going to be Ling, Viper, Moonlit Veil, and Tiamat last. But if you can one shot, just just do it. It'll make it a lot quicker. So I would recommend getting some food, maybe popping up the Switch 2, playing some of the new Donkey Kong game. I really like Donkey Kong, and just let it go to auto because you don't really need to prepare for anything, except it feels like you do because that Tiamat's pretty strong, as you can see. Did a lot of damage even with the defense up. So it is a little scary when you get to these juiced up max latticed Tiamats, but it is what it is. You're still going to win probably. So I'm going to grab a snack. I'm going to leave the whole footage playing, and just so you can like switch through and get an idea of how you would change things up. Now, we talked about how to beat the Tiamat teams, but of course there is going to be a ton of Cleave. So how do you beat Cleave? And the answer to that is, well, if they have a Messiah, Heinrich, Obel, plus a opener, you're probably going to lose. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, especially if you are not have like a giga busted account like me. You know, you're just chilling. You don't max stamina refresh every day. You don't want to deal with that. But there is a whole lot of Cleave. So how do you beat Cleave teams that aren't using the best Cleave teams and they're using something like a Yeli? Well, just slap a Hoyon in. Slap a Hoyon in and it's going to be good fun. And I would say use as minimum amount of investment on the Hoyon as possible to make her work. For me, that's the 1 to 4 investment on her lattices. And then for modules, what I do is I just focus strictly on making the stats good. As you can see, I put Bulwark on her just to guarantee the passive hit, and then I use Momentum and Keen Eye just to get the stats. And then we get Fury Edge, so maximum amount of damage. Make sure we get that 100% crit rate. And the thing I would like to note is that I don't have like the best build. Apparently I don't have a momentum piece with crit damage, so I have a crit rate, crit damage, and I have a attack percent. And you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to use unoptimal things. It doesn't matter how janky it looks, as long as it can one-shot the Yeli. That's all that really matters, right? So let's take it in and see how it works. And for the rest of the team, just slap some Bloodbath on some healers and a Tiamat and you're good to go. So, like I said earlier, there's no way I'm touching a Messiah Heinrich team with a 10-foot pole because I like to get my arena credits. So what's going to happen here is you're going to get cleaved a little bit, and hopefully the Yeli is strong enough to one-shot. I assume this person is because it's one of the highest rated Yeli players. So here it comes. Boom goes the dynamite, and the Hoyon goes down, and boom, you win the match. And that's really all you have to do. If you just do that, you win at the video game. So I definitely just keep a scrappy Hoyon just so you don't have to really go around and do a whole lot. And as you can see, my Hoyon is very bad. Cannot one-shot a Mio. But it did one-shot the thing it actually had to do. So just take that in consideration. As long as Hoyon does her job, you're going to win. It's going to be all good and you're gonna have a lot of fun. So that's how I would go about doing this. So hopefully that video was helpful and it really helps you figure out how to attack some of these teams in AI Arena that you may be struggling with. So leave a comment if there's anything I didn't pick up that you would like addressed, and I'll be sure to cover it soon. And if you just pop by on my Twitch stream, I'll just show you then. So tune in later and hope to see you back again. See you guys.